Welcome back, friends. Today I'm diving into Sonnet Makers Box for November, and this month's theme is packed full of Christmas cheer. This holiday box is overflowing with Santa projects, festive supplies, and don't forget the amazing digital press included this month. I'm also featuring several CNC DIY Factory DIY kits to show you even more ways to create fun and festive decor. I can't wait to share all the inspiration with you. I'm Cindy, my husband is Chris. Welcome to CNC DIY Factory. If you like this content, please hit the like button, subscribe, and leave me a comment on your favorite project. Each month, the Maker's Box comes with a sample size of Sweet Pickins milk paint. This month we have basil, and it is a rich dark green and it's a beautiful color. For this project, however, I am wanting a little more vintage green shade of green. So I am mixing the basil with a little bit of the In a Pickle and the willow paint colors. I'll mix up the powders to make sure it's the color that I'm looking for, and I think this is going to be perfect. Now, milk paint is a 1-to-1 ratio, so however much paint powder you use, you will add the same amount of water. Then you'll mix it up really, really well and let it sit for about 10 minutes to really incorporate the paint pigments. In this project, we'll be using one of our CNC DIY Factory original design Farmhouse-style Makers frames in the 6x6 size. These frames were designed with the maker in mind, featuring a removable backer board for easier creating. These have a solid 1-inch thick frame of raw wood that is perfect for staining or painting. I will be painting this frame with the custom color of milk paint we just made, but after working with milk paint for a while, I have learned that when milk paint is added to raw wood, it doesn't always give me the crackle and crazing I want. So I am applying 1 coat of the Fusion Mineral Paint in parchment from the Maker's Box to this frame before I add the milk paint. The raw wood really soaks in the milk paint, so the first coat of paint gives me a little barrier and allows the milk paint to do what it is made to do, which is crackle, craze, and chip. And that's the look I'm wanting for this frame. I will apply 1 coat of the milk paint to the entire frame and the back side of the backer board. Then I will dry it with my heat gun to try to get the milk paint to crackle. I applied 2 coats of the milk paint to get the look that I want. On the front side of the backer board where I had painted the Fusion Mineral Paint in parchment, I am going to be decoupaging. I'll be using the iron method for this. And now for this technique, I use Mod Podge and I apply a good coat to the surface. I make sure I have the entire surface covered in a moderately thick coat, and I brush the Mod Podge in both directions to ensure I have the board completely covered. Then I dry the Mod Podge with my heat gun, or I set it aside to dry on its own. Sonnet includes a beautiful napkin for decoupaging in each month's Maker's Box. After removing the additional ply from the back of the napkin and cutting off one of the 4 sections of the napkin, you can see it fits this 6x6 Maker's frame perfectly. To adhere the napkin to the backer board, place a piece of parchment paper over the napkin and iron it on. I use a small craft iron that I keep in my crafting toolbox, and I can leave a link in the description box below if you want one for yourself. Once I've made sure all of the edges are securely adhered to the board, I'll take my finger sander and sand off any remaining pieces around the edge for a clean, crisp look. Then I'll use my DIY liquid patina and seal in the napkin. I think I say this every time, but I think this napkin has got to be my favorite, and I will definitely have to get more from her. Each month's box gets better and better. To finish off this frame, we need to seal in the milk paint, and you can use any type of sealer you want that's water-based. I usually use the Sweet Pickins oil wax in dark, but for this frame I want to use the DIY clear wax, and then I'm going to follow that up with the Howard's Chalk Teak wax in dark. Now I like this dark wax because it has more of the brown color that I'm wanting. I used the clear wax first to seal the milk paint because I didn't want the dark wax to darken the paint. I just wanted to accentuate the crazing and the crackle of the milk paint. If I wanted the milk paint darker, I would have just put the dark wax on first. If you would like to try this Howard's Chalk Teak wax in dark, I will have a link in the description box for you. Okay, let's put this frame together. To adhere the backer board, you can glue it, you can staple it, or you can use a frame tacker as I have here. This is a must-have for creators who use our farmhouse-style makers frames or who love to upcycle thrifted frames. Okay, let's see this all put together. I love this custom color of the milk paint and the vintage look of this Santa. I think this definitely has the farmhouse feel. What do you think? In this project, we will be using the exclusive decoupage paper from Roycycled Treasures called Santa's Greetings. This is a master board, and Royce creates these papers specifically for Sonnet Makers Box each month. I'll also be using another original CNC DIY factory design called Large Ornament Shelf Sitter, and this can be found on our website at www.cncdiyfactory.com. This DIY kit has 3 layers for the ornament so that it can stand and 2 pieces for the ornament topper. I'm gluing 2 of the ornament pieces together using the Type Bond Quick and Thick. I'll be making this ornament shelf sitter double-sided so the middle piece does not need to be painted. I'm using the DIY paint in White Swan from the Maker's Box on the 2 sides of this ornament. I've selected and cut out the image from the Roycycled paper that I want on one side, and I'm spritzing it with water to relax the fibers. This helps to reduce any wrinkles when decoupaging. Then I'll apply a layer of the DIY liquid patina to the ornament and carefully lay my paper along the bottom edge of the ornament and smooth out with my brush. I will add more liquid patina over the top as I go to help smooth out any wrinkles and to seal in the paper. And then I'll set this off to the side to dry. For the other side of the ornament, I chose to use the Roycycled Decoupage Holiday Plaid paper from the October Makers Box because it had a blue line in it that I thought went well with the hints of blue from this month's masterboard. I'll cut this out and apply it to the ornament using the same technique. Once both sides of the ornament are dry, I'll use my finger sander and sand off the excess paper, leaving a clean, crisp edge. For the ornament toppers, I chose the DIY Fancy Farm Girl from this month's Maker's Box. This is a brighter green, and I'm hoping it'll give a little nudge of the kitsy Christmas feel. For the plaid side, I want to add a transfer, so I pulled out the Christmas Joy transfer set from the IOD Holiday 2025 release and found the perfect set. So I was having issues with my recording and I did not show the transfer being applied, and I did not show the next step of applying the step 1 of the Pentart Classic Crackle. But you can see that I applied the step 1 because it's wet, and once that is dry, I will apply the step 2 of the Classic Crackle. I am loving this Pentart Classic Crackle Varnish product. It can be used over transfers and it's water-based, so you do not have to use a solvent-based product to seal it like you would if you used the Pentart Fine Line Crackle. And it's easy to apply with a clean, dry brush. Then you can just wash the brush with soap and warm water. You can let the product dry on its own, or you can use a heat gun to speed up the process. Once the classic crackled varnish is dry, I like to use the Pentart antiquing paste and a paintbrush, and I work the paste into all of those yummy crackles and to give the piece some age. I'll work in small areas so the paste does not dry, and then I'll simply wipe off the excess with a lint-free towel. Oh my goodness, if you love this look, then that is perfection. For the ornament toppers, I did not use the antiquing paste. I used the Pentart metallic wax paste in gold. I'm thinking that maybe next time I'll use the antiquing paste and then I'll accent with the gold. I feel the gold took the green a little too bright, but you let me know what you think in the comments. Now we can put the ornament together. I am using the Titebond Quick and Thick to adhere the front of the piece to the middle and back pieces. Then I'll use the Stick Fast CA glue in the thick formula to adhere the two ornament toppers, making sure everything is lined up perfectly. I will add a coordinating ribbon to the top of the ornament, and there you have it. A beautiful ornament shelf sitter that is perfect for a tiered tray, a shelf, or to set on your counter this holiday season. In this project, I am showcasing a brand new DIY kit at CNC DIY Factory. This is our layered ornament kit. It comes with 8 different ornament shapes and can be found on our website. Today, we are using 5 of the ornaments along with all 5 of the digital press papers. I absolutely love this Kris Kringle collection digital press papers, and I can't wait to show you how easy it is to create vintage farmhouse style ornaments with them. After cutting out the papers for each ornament, I will start with painting the overlay. I am using Fusion Mineral Paint in Bayberry from a previous Maker's Box and a makeup sponge to apply the paint. You can use a paintbrush, but I find it's easier to use the makeup sponge. To apply, you simply pounce the paint on for even coverage, and I will apply 2 coats of the Bayberry. To help keep the colors in the rice paper true, I will use the Fusion Mineral Paint in Parchment and apply 1 coat to the front of the ornaments. I like to keep my edges clean and crisp, but sometimes I get paint over the side. So when that happens, I use my Mr. Pen permanent marker and go around the edges and clean them up. With the curves of the ornaments, I have found it's easier to cut out the paper to fit the ornament rather than adhering the paper and sanding off the excess. I'm using a scoring tool that I found at the Dollar Tree to score the lines into the paper, making it easy to follow when trimming. On some of these ornaments, you will want to have the paper go up under the top to cover the hole. So be mindful of where your paper starts and ends so you have the entire ornament covered with the paper. I printed the digital press papers on rice paper, which is a thicker paper than the napkin or the decoupage paper. and I like to use the decoupage and transfer gel by Fusion for my decoupage medium when working with the heavier papers. I simply lay down an even coat of the gel and lay my paper in place, then I go over the top with more of the decoupage and transfer gel. To give the overlays of the ornaments a little glam, I'm using the DIY Golden Rule Wax, and I'm lightly running it around the inside and the outside rim of each of the overlays. To put these ornaments together, I am using Stick-Fast CA glue in the thick formula. You can use any type of glue you like, but if you use a quick setting glue like this, I suggest a thick formula, or you may have your fingers stuck to your project. You could paint the back of the ornament at this point and add a ribbon to hang them and be done with these ornaments, but I wanted to add just a little something to these. I am going to be using Bright Tone Clear Gloss Sealer over the images, and I'm adding a thick layer that once this is dried, it creates a glass-like finish. But wait, I'm not done yet. I want to add a little glam and glitz too. I am sprinkling a little bit of the diamond dust over the wet gloss, and then I'm going to be adding a little bit of glitter as well. I should have turned off my fan while sprinkling this because it went everywhere but where I wanted it to go. But it all turned out okay in the end. These are just so pretty. Now I just need to add a ribbon to hang them. I think these turned out so good. A vintage farmhouse feel with just a touch of sparkle. I would love to know if these would fit with your decor style. In this project, we are doing a little thrift to treasure. I have had this little tote in my stash for a long time, and I think it's time to give it a makeover. I took this out to the shop and I sanded down all the sides and the bottom. I used a light sanding on the inside and the handle because with what I have in mind, I'm okay if a little bit of the red comes through. I'll be using the Sweet Pickins Milk Paint in Basil from the Makers Box, and I'm adding a little bit of the In a Pickle and the Willow colors to create a custom vintage green color. I'm using a popsicle stick to mix up the dry paint together to make sure that I have the color that I want, and then I'll add the same amount of water as I added in the paint powder and mix it up really well. Then I'll set it off to the side for about 10 minutes. Once the paint has set for 10 minutes, I'll use a chip brush and I'll apply the paint to the inside, the bottom, and the handle of this tote. I'll use a heat gun to dry the paint, and then I'll add a second coat of milk paint and then dry that as well, just to get the chippy crackle effect that I want. And I am okay if some of the red peeks through. Milk paint is probably my favorite paint to use. The powder never goes bad, and you only mix up the amount that you need for your project. Now, it can be a little unpredictable and persnickety, but once you work with it for a while, you might find that you love it too. For the rest of this tote, I am applying one coat of the DIY White Swan from the Makers Box, and I will be decoupaging on this tote. I want the white base for the papers to really pop. Now, when I opened the Maker's Box this month and I saw this North Pole Plaids paper, I did not realize that there were two different designs. I am so happy because that means that I can do more projects that coordinate. I am just going to trim down one of these plaids to fit the sides and the ends of this tote. Then I'll line up my paper where I want it on the side, fold it back, and I'll take my DIY liquid patina, lay down a nice even layer of the medium, then I'll spritz my paper to relax the fibers and smooth it down over the liquid patina. I'll work in sections all the way across to ensure that I keep the paper lined up correctly and to smooth out any possible wrinkles. Once the paper is dry, I'll use my finger sander and sand off the excess paper around the edges of the tote. I'll apply the paper to the two long sides and then I'll follow the same process on the ends of the tote. Now, when working with rounded edges, I like to cut relief cuts into the paper towards the curve. This allows the paper to lay flat. And once that is dried, I'll use my finger sander to sand off the excess paper. I'll be very careful when going around the curves so as not to take off too much paper. And for the edge of the tote where the white swan is, I am going to go over that with a coat of the Highlander from Fusion. This color matches so perfectly with the decoupage paper. Now, I was going to use the Mary St. Nick rice paper from the Painted Photographer in this month's Maker's Box for the ends of this tote. But once I got to this point, I decided I needed some red trucks. I'm using two different trucks from the Essential Stencil transfer set called Vintage Christmas Trucks. This transfer came out last year, and I believe they brought it back again this year. To apply a transfer, the first thing is to make sure your surface is completely dry, or you may have issues transferring your image. Then you simply peel off the white backer piece, lay your transfer down, and using a rubbing tool, rub over the image to release it from the carrier sheet. Then once it is transferred, I put a coat of sealer over it to protect it. On the two long sides of the tote, I want to add a stencil, also from Essential Stencil, and this was just released this year called Holiday Words, and it has 21 words or phrases in the set. I'm using Farmhouse Christmas. When stenciling, the main thing is to have very little paint on your stencil brush. I am using the color Ash from Fusion Mineral Paint that was in the Maker's Box. To keep the stencil from looking so fresh and to smooth down the paint, I am lightly sanding over the words with a 220 grit sanding sponge. Since the inside of this tote is painted with milk paint and will have crackle showing, I want to create a crackle on the outside of the tote as well. I'm using the Pentart Classic Crackle 2-part system. This is a water-based product and it can be used over the transfers without worry that they will crack the transfer and peel it off your piece. To use this, you simply brush the component 1 onto your surface with a clean, dry brush and then you let it dry. It goes on a milky color, but it dries clear. Then you follow that up with the component 2, also using a clean, dry brush. Once the component 2 is dry, you can add your wax or paste to bring out the crackle. I'm using the Pentart Antique Paste with a paintbrush to work the paste into the crackle. I'll work in small areas and wipe back the excess as I go. Once I have the outside finished, I'll seal the inside. I am using the Howard's Chalk-Teak Wax in dark, and I am applying it directly to the milk paint. I want to deepen that green color a bit, so I chose not to use the clear wax first and to go straight in with the dark wax. I will wipe back the excess with a lint-free towel, and we are all done with this project. Well, in my opinion, it doesn't get more Farmhouse Christmas than this. I love this project. I would love to know how you would style this in your home. For this project, I am pulling out a classic from our original designs at CNC DIY Factory. This is our large arch frame DIY kit with a spindle kickstand, and it comes with 3 layers of laser cut pieces. To start off, I am applying 1 coat of the DIY white swan to the front of the backer board. I only need to cover the part of the board that will show through the first arch layer. The next thing is the first arch. I am painting this with the Fancy Farm Girl by DIY that was in this month's Maker's Box. I only need to paint the part that will show once the second arch is attached. And then I am painting the last arch, the kickstand, and the back of the backer board with the Fusion Mineral paint in ash from this Maker's Box. This large arched frame is perfect for the 11 by 8 size rice papers, and side note, the first 2 layers are arches that can be used separately on different projects or combined. It's entirely up to your creativity. Oh my gosh, when I saw this winter birch rice paper by the painted photographer, I knew exactly what I wanted to do and that I needed to order more of this paper. I love this so much. I am applying some decoupage and transfer gel by Fusion to the area where I had just put down the white swan, and it will fit in the arch. Then I'll smooth down the paper with some more of the decoupage gel and to seal it in. I ordered a pack of these cardinal stencils a couple of years ago, and I'll leave a link in the description box for you below if you want some of them too. I love cardinals and this saying, and it reminds me of my mom, and I just had to make this in remembrance of her. I am taping off the areas around the words so I do not get paint where I don't want it. Then, using the Fusion Mineral paint in ash, I'll stencil on the words. I have to lift and adjust the stencil a bit to get all the words to line up just the way that I want it. I want the words on this to have a bit of a glimmer to them, so I am going back to my scrapbooking days and I'm pulling out my embossing ink refill bottle, and I will put just a couple of drops into a dish, and with a brush I will apply the embossing ink to the words on the stencil. Then I'll sprinkle on some black glitter embossing powder over the wet ink. I will do the top part of the stencil, and then I'll move to the bottom part in order to keep the ink from drying before I can apply the powder. Once I have the powder applied, I can dump off the excess powder onto a piece of craft paper and then add that back into the original container. Embossing powder must be heat set, so I will use my heat gun and heat up the powder so that it melts into my project, creating a raised glittery effect. The arch that has the DIY Fancy Farm Girl needs to be sealed because the DIY paint is a clay-based paint and it can be reactivated when wet. I want a glossy look to this, so I am using the Bright Tone Clear Gloss to seal this paint. Now we're going to put the frame together. I like to start with the kickstand on the back of the frame. I'm using Titebond Quick and Thick along with Stick-Fast CA glue in the thick formula. All of our DIY kits come with instructions and pictures for inspiration and can be found on our website at www.cncdiyfactory.com. Next, I'll apply the Titebond Quick and Thick to the back side of the arch and then line the edges with the Stick-Fast CA glue. Then I'll adhere the arch to the front of the backer board, making sure to line up all of the edges perfectly. I'll follow the same process to attach the front arch to the frame, again making sure all the edges line up perfectly. I decided the front of the frame needed a little holly, so I went to the IOD holiday release and pulled out Santa's Hollow transfer set. I will apply the transfer to the bottom of the frame. Well, all this needs now is a cardinal. I bought this set of 3D stickers at Hobby Lobby, and now I don't want the adhesive that comes with them, so I peeled that off, and I'm using Stick-Fast CA glue to adhere this cardinal to the birch branch. And here it is. After I finished with this frame, I was about to take the pictures and I realized I needed to add some holly to the top of the frame as well. So let me know if you would have added the holly to the top or if you would have left the holly just at the bottom. Okay, let's take a look at all 5 Farmhouse Christmas projects together. I absolutely love each one of these projects, but I want to know if you have a favorite and if I have inspired you to create a little farmhouse Christmas for your home. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed all the Christmas inspiration from the November Sonnet Makers Box. If you'd like to join the Makers Box monthly subscription and skip the waitlist, I'll have a special link for you down in the description box. And don't forget, every DIY kit you saw in today's video is available on our website at www.cncdiyfactory.com. They're all handmade right here in our shop. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. I love hearing from you. Until next time, keep practicing random acts of crafting. Bye for now.